Hey everybody, it's Sam Bennett from the organizedartistcompany.com, and I'm here today with Christine Hassler. Hi, Christine.
Hi, Sam. Hi, everybody.
So Christine and I have been friends for like 100 years, and
we look good for 100.
We look good for 100, baby. And here's the thing about Christine is we met in sort of a spiritual business mastermind. Like the question in front of us every week was, where is spirit calling us forward in our business? How are we being challenged spiritually and emotionally by our business? Where are we being called to grow? And when you get to know somebody in that context, you really know them. You really know their heart. You really know what's up for them. And you get to know them purely, like without all the like, oh, well, I'm friends with her boyfriend, so therefore we're friends, or, oh, we grew up together. Like it's such a pure friendship because it's without all that stuff.
Yes.
So this is how I fell in love with Christine Hassler, is meeting her in that context. And then we've been colleagues and publishing partners. Christine's published by the same publishing company as I am. Her book, Expectation Hangover, was amazing. We'll talk some about Expectation Hangover, I think.
We will.
So she's got a new masterclass coming up, and we were talking about what a perfect match it was for the members of the Organized Artist Company community. And I was like, well, let's just do a call. Let's just talk about it.
Let's talk about it.
So Christine, meet everybody. Everybody, this is Christine.
Hi, everybody. I'm so happy to be here. I love Samantha Bennett so much. And I know that anyone that's attracted to her and her work are also my peeps. So I'm excited to be here with all of you. And I know that we'll have a juicy conversation that'll hopefully light up some insights for you, give you some action steps, and just make you feel like you're not alone. I don't know, like sometimes just knowing other people are like going through what I'm going through and have been where I've been, I'm like, oh, I'm not crazy. I'm not alone.
Exactly.
Like everybody doesn't have it all together. Okay, good to know.
Good to know.
Not reality. Good
exactly. To know. That's what I've been saying to people lately when they say, how are you? And I say, I'm great. And not just Facebook great. Like,
yeah. like real life great.
Real life great. Yeah. So this is a community of mostly artists, creative people. And as one yourself, there's nothing you can make an artist feel bad in a second by talking to them about the things they haven't done, the projects that they dreamed of that never came to pass, or that they worked really hard on that never went anywhere. And the person right next to them who wasn't nearly as talented as they were, and yet somehow they made it to the top. Like the world of expectation hangover for a creative person is deep and wide. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes, I feel like if I hadn't lived in LA for 16 years, I never would have come up with the concept of expectation hangover, because it is the land of rejection. And so many people, especially it's a hub for a lot of creative people too. And I think that a lot of people move out there and go out there with big dreams, and then a lot of times get crushed. So an expectation hangover is something that I made up because I had many, many, many of them. And it's when one of three things happen. Either things don't go according to plan. Like you move and your plan is to sell the script, and 10 years later, it's not sold and you're not living the life that you want. Or things do go according to plan and you don't feel like you thought you would. Like you finally fall in love, you get married, you're like, now I'm going to be happy. I've got my person, I'm going to feel complete. 2 months after you get married, you're happy with the person, but that feeling of incompleteness or self-acceptance still isn't there. So you achieve the result, but you don't feel like you thought you would. And then there's just those unexpected curveballs that are no fun. This isn't like surprise party or good parking space, unexpected surprise. This is, I get laid off, I get dumped, I get diagnosed with an illness. Those kind of things that rock our world in a lot of ways. So basically an expectation hangover is when disappointment happens. And it's highly, highly painful, because not only are we dealing with the anger or the shame or the grief of the expectation hangover and of the disappointment, but we're also thrown into uncertainty. And we all love control. Oh boy, we love control more than sugar. We really, really do.
Amen.
We really do. I mean, I don't know. And so when we're thrown into that uncertainty, all we want to do is control something. And this is where we miss the window of opportunity that an expectation hangover offers, is instead of diving into the pain and the disappointment and going, whoa, what can I learn in this? Why is this happening for me, not to me? We go, this sucks. I want out. I want control back. I want something that's certain. How do I numb myself? How do I distract myself? How do I spiritual bypass it? Meaning like, just look for the silver lining. How do I pep talk myself? How do I just go do something else?
I'm so glad you're saying this, because I have to say, of all the things that get on my nerves about Southern California in general, and the personal development industry, is this relentless optimism, this like tyranny of it's all good and everything happens for a reason, and it's like, it's not all good.
Right.
I mean, it is, in the grand scheme of things, it is all good,
right.
But for the individual in pain in that moment, it's not. And I think what you're saying is exactly right. And I see people do it. I see them rush to that, like, I'm sure it'll all work out, I'll be fine. It's like, and you can see them skimming the surface.
Right. And when we do that, we suppress emotions. And here's the thing. A lot of the work out there, especially law of attraction, and I've been giving this a lot of thought, so we'll unpack this if you want, is that thoughts create feelings. And so if we just change our thoughts, we can shift our feelings. Baloney. If my mom dies, I'm going to be sad. It's not a thought about my mom dying that's making me sad. It's a natural human emotion that I don't know how we can be human and not feel things like that. So I do not believe that all feelings are created by thoughts. A lot of them are. Anxiety is created by thoughts, thinking about something that hasn't yet happened. Worry is created by thoughts. Yes, those are there. A lot of fear is created by thoughts, unless someone, jumps out of the closet and scares me. That's not created by thoughts. That's my nervous system feeling fear. So I think that we bypass this. We want to just live in our head. And when we do kind of the bypassing, we suppress things and we end up irritable. We end up creatively constipated. We end up with dis-ease. We end up not feeling fulfilled. And then we just end up having the same kind of expectation hangover again. Now, do I think it's important to watch our thoughts and choose positive over? Absolutely. But when you're in the midst of something, you've got to remember you're human. And what I'm so passionate about teaching people how to do, because this was huge for me. I was put on Prozac when I was 11. So numbing my feelings was like, I mastered it. When I learned how to do emotional release work and learned that emotion was energy in motion, emotion, and I started to move that, it was like a whole new world. Was it scary? Yes. Did I feel like I was out of control at times? Absolutely. However, there's such freedom in that. And I don't feel like I live just in my head anymore.
Yeah. So true. And I think, this thing, I love this line, we love it more than sugar, because it's true. I think the other thing we love more than sugar is being right. We love to feel
so right.
We love to feel like we're right. We love to find other people who will agree with us about how right we are. That's what the internet is great for. Like, if you have an opinion, you can find someone on the internet who shares your opinion.
Exactly. And they can hit like a lot.
Exactly. And so we love to feel right, and we hate to feel wrong. Mm-hmm. We really hate to feel wrong. Yeah. It's and especially for us, we're good girls.
Right. We're good girls. We're achievers. We follow the rules. We did things right.
We work hard. We show up. We're nice to people. And this community is like that too. It's all a bunch of like super high achieving, you'd think with the organized artist company, like I'd have a lot of flaky people who couldn't get it together.
Right.
I don't. It's all people who have dialed 1 to 99.
Yep.
And yet somehow that last little bit, that 99 to 100.
Yep.
I can't lose this weight. I can't get my work out into the world. I can't get over the perfectionism. I can't get over feeling like I'm not enough.
Right.
I can't get over that thing that happened to me when I was 6,
Yep.
Yes,
or
you
9 or
12 or 22. Yes, you can. Right.
Yes, you can.
So, but I think part of it is dealing with the discomfort of like, oh, perhaps I have misjudged something.
Right.
Perhaps I was actually wrong.
Right.
In my assessment of what I thought I wanted, in my assessment of where this was all going, in my assessment of how safe that person was, or how safe I was in that relationship or in that job, or.
Right. Yeah. This is the tricky thing. So forgive the helicopter going by. This is what I practice. there's a lot of things I practice daily. One, not being hard on myself because I've got a fierce inner critic. But two, taking 100% responsibility for my life without blaming myself. So going, okay, maybe not my best decision. Okay, I can see where I need to clean up my side of the street here, where I was out of integrity, where I went against my gut, where I took a risk that probably I needed to think a little bit more about. But I'm going to take responsibility. I'm going to move into acceptance. I'm not going to blame someone else or something else. I'm not going to justify my position or defend myself. I'm going to take responsibility, but not blame myself. Because what I've noticed with people, Sam, is they either blame someone else or themselves. Either I blame you or I blame me. And the blame game gets us nowhere. It just perpetuates anger at someone else or shame at ourselves. Both are dead end roads. So that's part of the art of, I think, personal growth is not doing that spiritual bypass of, well, it happens for a reason. Like, I didn't get that part because it wasn't meant to be. Or there's something that you're believing when you walk into an audition and energetically you're broadcasting, I'm not worthy. You can give a great read, but I'll give you an example. So I facilitate a lot of retreats, and there was a woman who was a dancer, and she was so frustrated because she really felt like she was doing great on auditions and was not getting booked. And so I was like, okay, why don't you walk in, do an audition for us? Like we set it all up, and she walked in, she did the audition. Everybody was like, oh my God, you're great. You're right. You should be getting the part. Then I said, okay, come back. Now do that exact same thing, but talk out what's going on in your head while you're dancing. And I can't remember exactly, but it was something to the tone of, oh my gosh, I hope this is good enough. That casting director doesn't like me. I feel really fat today. Oh God, I messed up that. That could have been better. The commentary was incomplete. Her dance was beautiful. Inside talk, ugly. And as she worked on that, guess what? She started booking things. So that's taking 100% responsibility. That's not going, oh, it was a casting director. Oh, there was another girl who had the right shade of auburn hair. It's really looking at, why didn't I get that? But not from the place of I suck.
So there's two things I'm thinking about. One is, this is where it's so great to work with a coach.
Yeah.
Because you have a safe space to get those weird voices in your head out.
Absolutely.
Even I'm sure that half of the breakthrough for her just came from saying them out loud. Because even as you say them out loud, oftentimes, they leave your mouth and you're like, well, I don't really like.
Yeah. You're like, why am I saying this to myself?
I really believe that, oh, my work is terrible. Well, it's not terrible.
Yeah.
Some places it could be better, but it's why I so often encourage people to write things down or make a picture of something. Like, once it's outside of your head, you can kind of get a slightly different perspective.
Exactly.
To have a safe space.
Exactly.
Which is to say that, and an enlightened witness to stand by you and say, I'm going to call bullshit on that.
Right.
Let's look into this. Let's make this a project. The other thing I wanted to hop back to, though, is you were talking about your fierce inner critic. And now the answer is, I personally wouldn't know anything about that myself. I read a lot. I talk to a lot of people. It's really one of the voice in the head. She does, and it's like Rhonda Britton talks about, right? Like, new level, new double. The smarter you get, the smarter that voice gets. The more spiritually evolved you get, the more spiritually evolved that voice gets. Like,
get sneaky.
It's right there with you every step.
Yeah.
So what are some strategies you've got for people who, again, they probably not, nobody in my community is probably suffering from this either, but they might.
No, I'm sure not. Yeah. And the more of a, perfectionist you are, the more of an achiever you are, like you said. And also, like, I noticed the inner critic comes up with personal growth too. Like, you can psychoanalyze yourself to death. You've read more self-help books than you can see in Samantha's bookshelf there. Gone to so many workshops. You know it. Might changing.
Advice about it. You can tell other people.
Exactly. Well, here's the thing. What I've learned about my inner critic is that she really, at her core, is trying to help me. She's really not trying to bring me down. She's really not trying to make me feel bad. She came around at a young time where she realized, oh, wow, this motivates her. Oh, wow, this makes her harder on herself than anyone else's. So when someone does say something mean to her, like, mom or school friends or whatever, it doesn't hurt as bad because our threshold's pretty big here. Oh, this keeps her small so she doesn't outshine other people. This is good. This protects her against things. Let's keep this. So when we're looking at our inner critic, I think part of what makes the inner critic so hard to quiet down is because we criticize our inner critic. Wrong. We make her the enemy rather than going, okay, like what you're trying to get my attention. I think the same thing works for when we have illness in our body or anything. It's like the body's not against us. Your body's not trying to take you down. It's really trying to get your attention. And so what I've had to learn, and this is actually a process that I teach in my mastery course, is something called an empty chair process. I've learned it in a variety of different ways. Psychotherapy calls it Gestalt. And I'll put me in one chair and my inner critic in the other. And I'll literally set up 2 chairs. Christine will sit over here, and then the inner critic will sit over here. And I will have a conversation back and forth with my inner critic and literally get up and move.
Wow.
Doing parts therapy and have this conversation about, what do you need? What's the message? You're a valuable part of me. See, any part of us, and you probably know this, but this is just a reminder, any part of us that motivates us, that protects us, is tied to our survival. It's tied to our basic survival.
Exactly.
And since we're not, I'm not afraid of where I'm going to sleep tonight. I'm pretty sure I'm going to have food. I'm not worried about a tiger breaking through my door. So my basic human survival isn't there. And so our brain is just concerned about our egoic survival. And that's the inner critic. So it's hard to shut down something that's basically keeping you alive.
I couldn't believe it. I heard somebody in a personal development field talking. They were giving this whole big keynote speech about how you had to get rid of fear. You just had to get rid of it. You just had to get rid of it. And I was like,
might as well get rid of oxygen too while you're at it.
Ridiculous. How is that even possible? Again, start to listen to fear.
Yes.
Start to negotiate with fear. Start to the lessons in fear.
Yes.
And so I'm sensing a theme here, Christine, which has to do with both the expectation hangover and the inner critic, that to notice these things not as shortcomings or ways in which we're not good enough, but instead as opportunities and in some ways gifts that are opened.
Yes. And they always present great healing opportunities, because if you track back to times when that inner critic got developed, they were tender or traumatic or difficult times. Every expectation hangover you're having as a grown-up, it tracks back to something that happened when you were not a grown-up. And what's so great about being a grown-up now and riding that feeling back in time is that the feelings that were unexpressed then, the things that you wanted to say that you couldn't say, the belief systems that were formed that you now have the opportunity to update, all that becomes possible. So this is another reason why we can't just push our inner critic out or push our fear out or push our emotions away, is because there's a thread back there to something that wants to complete. And we are living in a time where we're evolving rapidly. I mean, the consciousness, you and I would not be having this conversation. Well, first of all, obviously Zoom didn't exist, but we wouldn't be having this kind of conversation, I don't even think 30 years ago. And it's amazing how quickly we're evolving. And no matter what you think about spirituality or karma or lifetimes or reincarnation, we are having the opportunity to break generational patterns and to change conditioning and break out of collective kind of hypnosis about what we believe to be true at a rapid rate. And all of us do that by healing our own stuff. And so if you want to be awake and you want to be truly alive, you don't have to sit and process your past for decades of therapy. But when you are triggered in the present, you have to be willing to go back and go, what is this bringing forward for me to look at and heal so that I can shift it and create a different future? And this is where, as a life coach, I wish I could regulate the industry a little bit. I think there are a lot of amazing life coaches out there. However, if you're just focused on creating the future, and you're not looking at what got you to this point, this is where a lot of people have expectation hangovers when it comes to pursuing their goals or even working with a coach. They get all motivated and they get their action plan and they've Evernoted out all their things and they've got a clear plan. And they go and they do it and they reach a certain point, and then old patterns come up. They start to sabotage. Fear comes up because they haven't cleared out. It's sort of like hiring a decorator when your pipes are leaky. You know, you don't want to hire a decorator and get all new furniture because like a pipe's going to burst and it's just going to flood and ruin it all. So like, it's not sexy work to do the plumbing work, but gosh, once you do it and you have the tools and you know how, it's so much more fun to decorate.
Well, and that's actually a great analogy too, because I remember it might be in Return to Love. I think Marianne Williamson talks about, you know, how there's a pipeline between you and God's always trying to give you what you're asking for. But if you've got a clogged up pipeline, like it's going to come through kind of gunky and it's going to take a long time. Like it's slow and kind of gunky.
Yep. It's slow and sludgy rather than a flow.
Right. And I think this is the other reason I like this analogy is because life is about flow. And I think mental and physical well-being is about flow and about resiliency.
Yeah.
It's not that stuff doesn't come up in our lives. It's not that, you know, I mean, you run an incredibly successful business. You're an author. You talk to people all the time. You've had, you know, you've risen to the top of the profession of everything you've ever chosen to do. But it's not because life is easier for you than it is for anybody else.
No, honestly.
I think we do that sometimes. Like, think like, oh, well, it must have been easier for Christine because she's so smart. Or it's easier for Christine because look how pretty she is. Oh, it's easy for Christine because whatever.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is no. And I know for a fact that it was not easier for you. It hasn't been easier for me either. Right. But, you know, shit happens all the time. Difficult things happen all the time. Right. But our ability to process, move through, and keep going
shifts.
Is what's different.
It's what's different. Yeah. I will say things are easier for me now. I had a really crap summer, but it wasn't because of anything external. I was kind of going through my own next level stuff. And it wasn't easy in the sense of like, I wouldn't be like, yeah, summer 2017, let's do that again. But it was easy in this sense of I didn't have so much resistance to the process of what was happening because I have the tools. And I have had a coach since I was 21. I still have a coach. I will always have a coach. I have friends like you. I have made, the reason I'm so passionate about what I teach is because I'm like I'm a student of it. It has been life-changing. I never thought I could get off antidepressants. I never thought I could be an entrepreneur. I never thought I could be happy with the way my life is, even though it looks nothing like I ever thought. So it's almost like when we really get the tools and we leverage these expectation hangovers, life just starts to become easier in the sense of we don't have to work as hard to get through things and we don't have to work as hard to create things.
Well, and we were just talking before we turned on the recording. I mean, you just healed yourself from a fairly complicated medical condition. And you said part of what they said to you at the office is we've never seen anybody follow the protocol so closely and recover so swiftly.
Yes.
And it's because you had no internal resistance to healing.
Exactly.
You were like, oh, is this what I need to do? Great. I'm all in. Let's do it.
Exactly. I've worked through that rebel part of me. Because what happens is, and I see this with so many of my clients and so many people that come do courses, is that as soon as they're presented with something that requires some discipline or getting uncomfortable, whether it be a restrictive diet or emotional release work or setting boundaries with people or whatever it is, that rebel comes up and it's like, F that, no way. Like because we've all felt disempowered. And it's interesting to me because whenever we feel like we have to do something we don't want to do or something's just restrictive, our orientation to it is almost like we're disempowered, like it's taking something away, where really it's going to add value to our life. Right. But if we haven't kind of cleared out enough of that resistance, then the rebel comes up or the saboteur comes up. You know, I'm sure you see this. I see this. Like it's an upper limits problem too. People get closer to what they want and then all their self-worth stuff gets triggered. I'm not deserving of it. I want love. Oh, wait, you love me? You love me? Oh, I don't know. Now I'm going to sabotage this relationship because I want love, but no, I don't. Yes, I do. No, I don't. Right. And we do that one foot on the gas, one foot on the brake for a while until we start to, again, clear the pipes.
Oh, look, this project looks like it might actually happen. Sparkly thing.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, look, I'm starting to hit my income goals.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Let me go spend it. Let's go for a vacation.
Something must happen to get this money out of my hot little hands.
Yeah. Or wait, that emotionally unavailable erratic looks super fun to date. Let me go do that. Yeah.
Oh, the tall, emotionally withholding one in the back.
Yeah, I know.
Mine, all mine.
My eye. Can you feel the sparks?
So, I think this is so clarifying for me. I'm sure it's clarifying for everybody else too. And I'm sure people are like, who is this Christine Hassler and how can I work with her? And you've got a free class coming up.
I do. I have a free masterclass. It's going to be a video. It's going to be October 11th, and all the info will be, you'll give all that out. There will be replays of it. And again, I have I've been coaching since 2004 as a profession. It took me a while to build, and I do lots of other things, but I've been working with people one-on-one, online, in retreats for how many? I can't do math. 13 years? No. Right? Oh, wow. God, 13 years. Holy moly. Anyway, so where I get so compassionate for the people that just feel so stuck. Like they've tried everything and they just can't move the needle on this one thing, or they move it a little bit and then it goes back, and then, 5 steps forward, 4 steps back, whatever. Mm-hmm. And also feel frustrated that they've tried so many courses and so many books and so many workshops, and like, it's just not working, because I have been that person. Like I have chased, there's no self-help book I haven't read. Well, there probably are a few workshops, this healer, astrology, chakra healers, plant medicine, like whatever it is, like I have consumed it and taken all of it and gone, okay, what works for the most amount of people, and that's the most efficient and the most powerful. And in the masterclass, I'm really going to show you how to identify like why you're stuck, like where the pipes are broken and how to actually fix them, not just fix them, but heal them. Yeah. And then we're going to get into, how you discover your purpose from that place, how you start to make more of your behavior consciously driven, because only 3 to 5% of our behavior is consciously driven. So that means a good 95% is unconscious programming. You want those numbers to be different. You want more of your behavior to be consciously driven. Mm-hmm. So we're going to dig into all of that. And for you overachievers, control freaks, people pleasers, we're going to talk about how that serves you and how to get to the other side of that. We're going to talk about your avoidance traps. As a coach, I see people talk about what they want, but they spend a lot more time and energy avoiding what they don't want. And that never gets you to where you want to go. So we're going to talk about how to get out of your avoidance trap as well.
Oh, that's that whole not playing to win, just playing to not lose.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was a tough one. I remember coming up. I remember when I hit that page in the, in the big book of self-improvement. I went, oh damn.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, my big one's rejection. That's my avoidance trap. Yeah. Yeah, I will do whatever. Well, I'm better now, but I would have done whatever it would take to not be rejected, which meant I played it safe and I didn't put myself out there, and I wasn't always authentic, because a lot of times we don't want to be rejected. We put on whatever mask we need to put on to not be rejected. And, it cost me years of authenticity. And I think it delayed the manifestation of things because I was so worried about not failing, not getting rejected, that I wasn't all in on like feeling really inspired and taking action towards what I really dreamed of.
Oh, that's interesting too. I hadn't thought about this, but I think it's true. When we get that impulse from our intuition, from our inner wisdom, from our creative spirit, like, oh, I want to do something. And then, because in general, my experience is that voice never steers you wrong.
Correct.
Never steers you wrong. So we get that creative inspiration, that little idea. And if we follow it, things happen, not necessarily everything you plan will happen, but things happen for sure. But if you immediately follow that feeling up with, what are they going to think? Is that okay? Do I deserve this? Maybe it's not such a good idea. Am I really the right person? Like, you sort of smother it with all this rejection, or you're letting fear of rejection drive the car. Exactly. Or fear of failure drive the car, or whatever drive the car. Then it's, again, it might happen anyway, but it's going to take a long time, and it's going to be kind of gunky.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And like, it's not going to be as enjoyable in the process. I see so many people trying to make things happen and just pushing themselves. They really have this dream, and they think once they achieve it, once they hit the goal, then things are going to be better. It's living in the when-thens. And if you don't enjoy the process along the way, then what's the point? Seriously, what's the point?
Well, and this is something you and I both, I know we've both worked really hard on. It's so funny that I just said that, because what I was about to say is that working hard is not the answer.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
But we worked really hard. I'm not working really hard.
Yeah.
That because again, we got rewarded for working really hard. Yeah. It's everybody tells you, well, you've just got to work harder.
And it's an addiction. I mean, it truly is.
And it's I'm right. Look how good I am. Look how hard I'm working. It's not my fault I'm failing. Look how hard I'm working, how many hours, look how stressed out I am. Like, this is badge of honor.
Yes, exactly.
Right. And this relaxing into the knowledge that you're safe, that you're loved, that you're approved of.
Right.
Everything's fine. You're weird. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're having a hard time. That's fine. And once you sort of loosen the white-knuckled grip, the amazing miracles that come cascading in. I mean, not to sound like an inspirational poster, but
yeah,
I've had that experience. I know you've had the experience. I've seen it with thousands of my clients. Yeah. And it's just a little 1 degree shift. So, so for all of you out there, if this is interesting to you, for sure, sign up for the free masterclass. It's free. You can be there live, or you can watch the replay. We're not into this like withholding, like,
right.
You have to be on our schedule in order to enjoy our material. Yeah. And if you're interested in it leads into a.
Yes. So, like I said, I've been doing this work professionally since 2004, and everyone was like, you should have an online course. And I was like, you're right, I should. And I kept shooting on myself about an online course for years. But luckily I know that when I'm only motivated by, like I could make money and I should do this because everyone else is doing this, that's a big red light for me. Yeah. I can push myself through that, but it will cost me a lot. Not even just financially, like my health, my integrity, I don't like being out of alignment with like my truth. So I waited until I really felt like I could offer something that worked and that was like all the best of everything that I've learned and experienced and developed into one thing. And so from the masterclass, you'll be invited. And if you attend the masterclass, you get a special bonus and discount. You'll be invited into my mastery course, which is called Over It and On With It, which is also the name of my podcast where I coach people live on the air. So you may want to check that out to get kind of some free coaching.
It's a great podcast.
I love it.
I love it. It's so fun. It's so fascinating.
It is fascinating, isn't it?
And I love how you walk people through it. It's really cool.
So fun. It's so fun. And that's what the masterclass is. It's me coaching you through. There's live coaching calls. And we really look at, something you want to get over and something you want to get on with. And I walk you through the emotional level, the mental, the behavioral, and spiritual. And you have enough information. This is really about giving you tools, giving you experiential tools. Like I kind of talked about that empty chair process. I demo that process for you. I teach you emotional release work. So that, again, like those things that you've been carrying around like a heavy backpack for decades, perhaps, you can start to take out and really, 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 truly shift on all levels. Because I have found, and maybe there's a quick fix. I don't know. I haven't found it. But what I have found is a holistic approach to anything is what creates true transformation.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to come at it from all angles. And I think it's one of the things that why I like you as a person, but also as a teacher and a coach, is how, you're super spiritual and a God girl and a woo-woo girl, and you're super practical and like brass tacks. Yeah. And you're very emotional and compassionate, but you're also you're a nerd, you're kind of intellectual. You back yourself up with research and with, with serious critical thinking. There's not a lot of, missing pieces in what you offer people, so I encourage all of you to for sure do the free thing, for sure check out Over It and On With It podcast. And then if Christine's work speaks to you, for sure do the masterclass. And there might be a little Sam Bennett bonus in there for you as well. Yay. So that's great. Well, thank you so much for taking this time. I know you're on your way out of the country. Where are you going? Bali again?
Yes, so I teach a retreat in Bali every year. So I'm off to Bali to teach there. And then
somebody's got to do it.
Huh?
Somebody's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. But that was always like, a dream of mine to be able to do that. And it's really cool to take people to a place like Bali and see the the stuff that happens for people there. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. Good
Thank
stuff.
you.
My pleasure. Thank you, everyone. Like, I love you, Samantha, and I can feel your tribe and such an amazing group of people. And thank you so much for watching and for the time. And I hope that I get to see you on the masterclass.
Me too. Okay. Love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.